Good morning to one and all present here. We welcome all the participants for today's Corporate Connect and Industry Institution Interaction Initiative. Topic for today's session: Professional Career in Physical Risk Management. As we know, risk management is the identification, evaluation, and prioritization of risk, followed by coordinated and economical application of resources to minimize, monitor, and control the probability or impact of unfortunate events to maximize the realization of opportunities. To know more about this, we have with us today Mr. Shantanu Krishna, Director of PINKERTON, Mumbai. We welcome you, sir. I also welcome all the participants. Now, I request my friend Kalimuthu to introduce the speaker.
A pleasant good morning, everyone. Mr. Shantanu Krishna. He is certified in business management from IIM Indore, has a diploma in hotel management from IHM Pusa, and degree in arts from Delhi University. As a part of his professional qualification, he is a certified Six Sigma Green Belt and has a diploma in weapons technology, including electronic surveillance. He serves as the business director for India. He has over 19 years of experience in risk management. He has served as an officer in the Indian Army. He has handled IIM leading in counter environment to become Chief Security Officer for dignitary visit, such as the President of India. In his 30 years of corporate experience in sectors of banking, telecom, and emergency services, he has been a part of core team, involved in part of senior management, has handled project at global level, and was involved in implementing and handling strategic initiatives. He has been involved in handling response services, risk assessment, crisis management, production program for various claims, ranking from oil and gas, offshore and onshore, and energy mining infrastructure to corporate. There are 20 years hotel hospital. He is well conversant with English, Hindi, and can understand Punjabi. Thank you. Now I would request our Honorable Chief Guest to take over this session. Please, sir.
Thanks, Kalimuthu and Nandini for that kind introduction. And for a moment, I was surprised when Kalimuthu said chief guest to take on the stage because I've never been a chief guest. I always myself as a guest and as a speaker. So thanks for the kind words. And that is why the pause, because I was waiting that maybe Professor Narayanan will say something and then I have to start.
Okay.
So good morning, everyone. Jai Hind and Vanakkam to everybody in Coimbatore. Today, as Nandini and Kalimuthu introduced me, I will talk about what risk management is. The company that I represent is one of the oldest companies in this domain. So I'll quickly share my screen. So this is the name of the company. And I am going to talk about risk management as I have been introduced. By the end of this session, the idea of this session is to make you all understand what risk management is. And let me tell you, by the end of the day, by the end of this presentation, most of you will understand or believe in yourself, and you will all be a risk management professional. Because there is no specific course or training that you have to do. If you have that bent of mind, and let me assure you, you all have, we will all be risk management professionals by the end of this session. Just a word of caution, we are talking about physical risk management here.
So your screen is not visible, sir, in case if you have shared.
Is it visible now?
No, sir.
Just a minute. Sorry, I hope it's visible now.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's visible now. Yeah.
Now it's visible.
So I was just sharing a word of caution that the risk management that we talk about here, and I see fellow professionals also who've joined us, will be primarily on the physical risk management and not the financial one. So if, the financial ones are the ones that are correlated to primarily NBFC or the banking sector. So we will not touch upon that.
Shantanu, sorry to interrupt. You can put it on slideshow mode. Huh?
Sure. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah.
So as I was talking about physical security risk management, so I represent a company called Pinkerton. If you see on your screen, and before the presentation started, Revati ma'am asked me, so we are a 165-year-old company. We are the oldest in this domain. We are the ones who set a lot of benchmark. If you see the photo on your right-hand side of the screen is the founder, the person in beard is the founder. We are the first ones to get what detectives do in this world. What we do currently is more of risk management, which encompasses security and fraud prevention control for corporates. Some of the public sector undertakings as well have reached out to us and we work for them. Our respected Prime Minister has coined a term and he's been using it quite vocally to say that local. Pinkerton takes pride in calling ourselves local for a long time. We operate in 100 plus countries, but as somebody asked me before the session, how do we work around? It's a very flat organization. So anything that we need in US or a Papua New Guinea or a very remote country, we can support sitting in India. So we are connected in the background and all our directors are connected. So if there is anything that we need to do or need to support the companies, we are one organization and we represent one organization to help our clients. Having quickly taken you through my company, I will now, because we have all MBA students here, and as is customary, we have some respected professors. So as is customary, I have the definition of risk management for all of you, and I will read it out. Because as the professors say, it shouldn't be wrong while you write in the exam. So I'll just read it out for all of you. Is the identification, evaluation, and prioritization of risks. These are the three important catchwords. So first you do all of these three things. And as I said in the beginning, once I speak about it, once I talk to you in terms of how it works in your normal day-to-day life, you will realize that all of you are already doing this. You always identify a risk, you evaluate, and then you prioritize. As a student, as a professional, as a professor, all of this is being done. What do you do after that? It is followed by coordinated and economical application of resource to minimize, monitor, and control the probability or impact of unfortunate events or to maximize the realization of opportunities. Though definitions, when I was your age, or the people who are here, who are in the panel, were of your age, this was a very difficult definition for all of us. But when you come of age, you realize that it's a very easy definition. You can correlate to your day-to-day life. So having told you about the definition, I will put it in a simple word or a layman's term. Expect the best. So when you start a day or when you start your career or when you think about risk management, expect the best, plan for the worst, and prepare to be surprised. If you can do these three things in your profession, or you can imagine or keep this thing at the back of your mind, you're all risk management professionals. Slightly on the lighter note, you see Tom in this photograph where it's a very thin line between how you take a calculated risk and doing something dumb or being very risky. So that is what a risk management professional is. You have to decide where to draw a line and then take it forward from there. Since all of you have understood or realized what risk is, I will take you a step further and share this slide, which is tell you why do we need risk management in our lives. Every business and organization face the risk of unexpected. Harmful events happen. It jeopardizes the reputation of the company. It can cost the company money. In worst cases, it can cause it to permanently close down. Risk management professionals like us allows organization to attempt to prepare the unexpected by minimizing the risk. There will always be risk. And again, in a layman's term, when you're doing a course, there is risk associated to it. When you go out for a movie, there is risk. When you step out on the road, there is risk. How do you minimize it? With no extra cost. When I say no extra cost that is what the organizations also want. When you're going out for a movie on a road, it's very easy to get a very heavy vehicle with everything uploaded, with everything taking care of you, with all safety features. But can we do it? Do we have the budget to do it? So we reduce it. We reduce the risk. And that is how we work. The risk wheel, the colorful wheel that you see in the center of your slide is the trademark of my organization, Pinkerton. We call it the risk wheel. This slide is really important because this will let you know what risk management is all about. It encompasses all the aspects of physical risk management. While you go through it, it is full of corporate jargons. As the MBA students tell us, corporate jargons are really important. But what I will do is I will take a step backwards and convert it into a layman's term or a student's term or a student's life where you will understand what exactly is risk management. As students, when I was of your age or my colleagues or panelists who are of my age, all of us had partners. We had girlfriends or boyfriends. Most of us married them. Some of us not married. We were lucky not to get married to our girlfriends and marry somebody else. So all of us had partners. Now, how do you manage the risk in a situation like this? So on your right-hand side, you see the first quadrant is operational and physical risk. So in a corporate jargon, it is basically business continuity. What is the supply chain? What is the logistics in a company? How do you cater to all these risks? These are the risks, or these are the issues that will help the companies, or as a risk management professional, I want to negate. But let's take a step backwards and imagine as a student, what is a risk management wheel for you? What is the operational and physical risk? You got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you decide to go out on a date to a restaurant or a movie hall. What is the operational and physical risk? Which restaurant will you go to? Which movie will you see? How will you go? Will you go by bus? Will you take a cab or an Uber or an Ola? Or will you take that lovely bike which your parents have gifted you? So that is the risk or the operational and physical aspects of stepping out for a movie. And as I said in the beginning, the idea is for all of you to make corporate risk professionals, to make you believe that you are corporate risk professionals by the end of this presentation. So once you've decided which restaurant or which movie, the latest movie, you want to go for a Tamil movie, whereas your girlfriend is a Punjabi, so which movie do you go? When you've set up all of this, you've taken care of the operational and physical risk, comes the market and economic risk. What is the reputation of the restaurant? How is the movie? Because you're spending money on that. So is the movie good? You will speak to a friend of yours who's already seen a movie. How's the song and dance sequence? Are there any romantic scenes? So these are the things that you will talk about. Is the restaurant that provides you the food when you go out on date is worth the money? So that is the market and economics that is concerned in day-to-day life. Speaking about corporate jargons, a company has to protect the brand reputation. So any company, name a company, for them, brand reputation is of prime importance. And why only companies? Let's talk about shops. Let's talk about your college. Your professors, learned professors are always talking about brand reputation, how your placements are happening. So these are really important things. There are political factors that also affect companies. It might also affect your decision to go to whether you want to go on a Valentine's Day where you have these right-wing activists preventing you going out. So that is the political factor associated to your example. Investment risk. You go out and you know that the restaurant is very costly. Do you want to invest that much in a girlfriend or your boyfriend? That is something that you need to think. Coming to the information and technology. From a corporate jargon perspective, are there corporate controls? Do you have IT assets? Are they going out? So once you, I don't know whether you go and visit campuses, but once you go out and visit the offices or campuses as part of your training, you will realize that all our assets in the corporate world are tagged. So, and I'm sure it's the same in your college. How is the cyber security? Can somebody visit your DJ Academy website and do something notorious? So you've got to prepare. So you have to have corporate controls. So as a risk management professional, you have to think about it and help the companies. Identify systematic technological threats. Are there anything? How do you help it? Coming back to our favorite example, in IT, how do you cater to your date as an IT risk? Is the cybersecurity there in the restaurant or the hotel that you're going in? Is your girlfriend or a boyfriend about to take a photograph and uploading it Facebook saying checked in, or putting it on Instagram where your father can also access it? So as a student or as a child, for you, that's the cybersecurity risk when you step out. Are there cameras installed which should not be there in private places? These are the things that we look at. The final quadrant is hazard and event risk. Again, in terms of business resiliency, for corporate jargon, it is the workplace violence. There are a lot of issues that are happening. We've got people from different walks of life, different places. So there are issues that happen. Everybody has got priorities, their religious affiliations, their political affiliations. Not everybody is cool-minded. So there are cases where workplace violence happens. All of you are in down south, Tamil Nadu. You've experienced so many natural and man-made calamities or disasters that have happened in the past few years. Civil disorder and riots, these keep happening. You have the farmers' agitation, which is happening. So across in North India, most of my colleagues who are in the risk management domain, they're very busy helping their clients to cope up with an agitation like this. Disease and health, the latest example is the pandemic that we're all going through. That's the new normal. That is how we're connecting on this platform. Otherwise, I would have been there addressing all of you physically. So that is how a risk management professional works around. Coming back to your example, as a student, what is the hazard and event risk for you? How will the food be if you've gone to the restaurant or a movie hall? The popcorn that you buy, or the fish or the prawn that you eat, how will it be? Hope your a person who's accompanying you doesn't get food poisoning. Will there be an issue in terms of while you're traveling to the restaurant, somebody, some right-wing activist blocking the way, or there is a farmers' agitation right on one of the main chalks of Coimbatore while you're going for this restaurant? So these are the things that you have to imagine when you talk about the risk quadrant. So if you understand the risk quadrant, if you can work around it, you're risk management professionals. If the answers to the examples that I've quoted about you visiting a restaurant or a movie with your friends and family, if the answers for the questions that I've asked is a yes, then congratulations, you're all risk management professionals. And as I said in the beginning, the idea is to make you believe or make you understand that there's this person inside you who is a risk management professional. It's just a big word, corporate structure, or our curriculum wants it to give a savvy word, but this is what we all do in normal life. Now let's make it more technical, because I know all of us like to hear more glamorous words. So let me take you a step further. As a student, I never liked formulas. And this is the one that is there on your screen and will let you imagine that, oh, that's a big one. Now, this is what is risk, you will imagine. But no, let me again simplify it for all of you. How are your different threats? Go back to the same example as a student or as a postgraduate student. How do you work around? What are the different threats that you will encounter? What are the types of risk? And this is what the formula will give you that we use in the corporate. On your left-hand side has got the threats, and you can again move it into layman's example. This is all the corporate, and by the end of the presentation, if you want something specific to understand, but I've already spoken about it. All these things are associated as threat. Multiply it by probability. So let's take a let's take an example of your girlfriend or your boyfriend posting everything on the internet for you when you go out on a movie or a restaurant eating outing discreetly without your parents or your professors getting to know. So what is the probability that this threat where this photo will be uploaded, or your professor or your teachers or your guardians or your student or your parents will get to know? That is the probability. Business impact, of course, in corporate we have a business impact. For you, business impact, you all can imagine. Maybe your friends, or you lose out on your friends, you lose out on the musty factor that you all do without your parents getting to know. So multiply all of this and you will get is what is called risk. So if you can negate the three multipliers that are there on your screen and you can handle the risk that comes out of it, again, you're all risk management professionals. So it's very simple. So don't go by corporate or the presentation that we give you, but simplify. The idea is to understand things in real day-to-day life in your college examples, and you will understand that life is very simple. Taking you to the next slide. You will now, since you've understood and you've realized, or I made you believe that you're all risk management professionals, you would now like to know what are the different verticals, if I may call, or subjects that are there in a risk management services. So if you see this box on your left-hand side is the screening, which is something that Pinkerton does. And Revati ma'am asked me in the beginning. So screening is something, the dark gray the dark gray one that you see this side is the screening which we do for employees or is part of risk management, which we do for an employee or a company where we have been asked to assess the risk associated. Then we have the security management, investigations, protective services, and response services. And don't worry, I will take each of these four blue ones, the topics, to let you know where you fit in. Because as an MBA student, when I was doing my management, the only thing during these presentations were, where do I fit in? Where do I land up? How do I get a job in this domain if I'm interested, of course? So I will talk about it. The light gray on your right-hand side is the intelligence, because all of this has to be complemented by a strong intelligence network, which a company like Pinkerton or any other company in the risk management domain provides you. In your case, this intelligence is your friends or colleagues who've stepped out for that movie or to that restaurant who can come back and tell you how the movie is. So that is the intelligence gathering for you as a student. But as a professional, as a risk management professional, I need to have a strong backup. Now let's take each of these verticals as I talked about. First one is the security management. Every company or a structure that you have, maybe DJ Academy's buildings or the college that you're studying in, has to be taken care of in terms of security management. I'm sure you have guards, you have CCTV surveillance in your college, and I'm taking college examples because you people are studying there, so you'll be able to correlate to it more. What is the enterprise security risk management? It is primarily what the security we are doing for the corporates. The way that, so before you step into the college, when the college was being set up, there's a risk management that happens for it in terms of, again, stepping back to say physical. Obviously, the one is that learned professors or the founders or the chairman do it as to how will the college do. But as risk professional, we check as to what are the issues when the college comes up. Is it a secure environment that we can give to the students? Can we have ample CCTV? Is it far away from places which are riskier for our students? So that is what we do. We start off before. We are the first ones to get onto a site, and we are the last ones to get off when the site is up and running. Or we don't even get off. We have to support the site. When I say site, maybe a corporate building or maybe your college building. So there is when your college building built up, I'm sure you had a risk professional like ourselves doing a risk prioritization or negation for your building, and you have CCTVs or your guards who are still supporting in terms of how this physical security is being done. Event security management is also part. A lot of you do these fests, college fests or jamborees that happen, where most of you would opt for event security and you will maintain the event security. If you have experience in doing it, that is what we do in the corporates. We work with companies where we need to support celebrities coming in for an event. We work with companies for a launch, for a product launch. So these are the kinds of activity we do. We have to ensure the entire event is secure, from, again, the preliminary assessment to how the flow of event in terms of security, how will the security team be escorting. So all of these is being done. Physical security system services, the CCTVs that you have, the access controls that you have, the RFID tags that you have. You've gone to maybe a mall, a shopper's stop, or a big bazaar. All of this is there. So that is again something that risk management professionals do. One is we do it before the setup is done, and then regularly there are audits that are happening. Global supply chain security. And let's not take far-flung examples, but let's talk about pandemic. Everybody is talking about vaccine. But in the background, I have my colleagues, fellow professionals who are working towards ensuring a supply chain security for that vaccine that comes and gets delivered to us. Security design and risk assessments are again part of security management. We design the building, as I said in the beginning. The risk assessments are done as a first phase to understand what is the risk associated. Investigation. A very important role is investigations, because we do a lot of investigations, and Pinkerton takes pride in being the first company who launched investigations. In good old days, we didn't have detectives per se, the ones that you see in the movies. We didn't have CBIs and the CIDs or the FBIs working in. So in 1850, Alan Pinkerton, our founder, the company that I represent, decided to set up a detective organization. So much so that after the Civil War in US, they had so many detectives, they didn't know what to do. When I say they, means the Americans. And they asked Alan Pinkerton to set up what is today called the FBI and the CIA. That's the name to fame to the organization that I represent. So in today's world, what do? We do surveillance, physical and cyber. There are companies that come to us and tell us that there is a fraud or there is an issue that has taken place, and they want companies like us to investigate. We do surveillance for them. If there are suspects, so we work as police. So if that is something that excites you, you always wanted to join the police, or you wanted to be seeing movies, you get a kick out of James Bond movie, this is the organization that you should, this is the kind of role that you should opt for. Due diligence. Before a company steps in or before a company hires anybody, it's a big word, but the basic idea is we do due diligence for organizations or for employees. Let's take it to your examples. 5 years, 6 years down the line, you all will get married. Most of you will get married. Today, when you decide in current phase, when you decide who is going to be your life partner or your boyfriend or your girlfriend in the college, you do due diligence. You just don't go in for the first person that comes out of your classroom and decide, or the cafe that you've been to and decide to fall in love. There is some kind of due diligence that you do. That is what as a risk. And if the answer is yes and you do it, congratulations, you risk management professionals, because that is what we do. If you have the knack of doing that due diligence, once you step out of the college, this is something you do it for organizations, you get paid for it. Forensic. Forensic is something that is more from a technical aspect. So people from IT domain help us to unearth activities that people have been involved in, which they shouldn't have done. So we go into forensics. And again, word of caution, there is a forensic accounting as well, which is more to do with chartered accountants and CA and financial teams doing it. We are into hardcore cyber or cyber forensics. So if there is a CCTV, which we need, if there is a laptop or a computer, which we need to go around and see what is the documents that we need to access to unearth or find out what the investigation is about. We do forensics for that. Interviewing, again, a very glamorous name, but primarily what interviewing means for us in the corporate world is interrogating. You must have seen in the movies, it is more to do with, and obviously we don't beat up people, we can't do the kind of tortures that they show in the movies. It's more, and that is why we call it interviewing. We speak to people. So if there is a suspect that we've cornered, we put him in a room and we ask him questions to make him uncomfortable and accept the guilt and plead guilty to the charges that have been levied to him. Undercover operations, typical James Bond stuff. You got to step out, see what is happening. You have to change clothes. You have to, go into a restaurant or a hotel, not dressed as a student, but somebody else, and see what is happening there. Brand enforcement and IPP. IPP is nothing but intellectual property protection, where these companies, if an FMCG company or other companies that are selling goods, is their brands being reinforced? If there is a sports apparel company, is it the original stuff that you're getting in the market? There are a lot of counterfeits and things happening. So there is a department, and it's a big business for all of us in India. So that is something you do as a risk management professional. Protective security services. So people who've wanted, you've seen the bodyguards or and I'm not talking about bouncers here, so don't think that this is about bouncers. We're top-notch risk management professionals. So you've seen these commandos that stand behind ministers or big business tycoons. That is something that we support them first to design. We don't just make people stand and support them in their security needs, but we design their entire structure as to what is their requirement, train people. Most of these people that you see here are ex-forces. Since you're from Tamil Nadu, you've got a huge number of students who go into NCC. So we've also got some NCC certified professionals helping us in this domain, because they are cut out. They have the military bearing and the turnout to be a protective security. They can join the protective security services team. There are a lot of business houses that have NCC boys and girls helping them in this domain. It's self-explanatory, all of this. The last one that I will cover is TSCM, which is Technical Surveillance Countermeasure. When you step out in corporate domain, there are very important meetings that take place. You've got board meetings, you've got decisions that is being made where shareholders are affected. So what we do is, as part of TSCM, the layman's term is debugging. So we ensure or we check whether the telephones or the audiovisual equipments that are kept there, are they bugged? If they are bugged, we debug and ensure the environment is safe for the meeting or the conference to take place. Response services. Who better than Tamil Nadu to understand this? As we have seen in the past few years, Tamil Nadu has borne the brunt of a lot of natural calamities. And this is something that we do. As I said in the beginning, and I picked this phrase from one of my favorite arm, the Corps of Engineers from the Army. Engineers is always the first one to get in and the last one to come out. In response services, the risk management professionals, I wouldn't say the first one, but amongst the professional fraternity is the first one to walk in, help people, and then step out once the people have moved out. Of course, there's the Army, there's the state police and the reserve forces, the NDMA and the other organization which help. But imagine if there is a workforce disruption, there's a natural disaster, there's civil unrest. Imagine the farmers' agitation goes out of hand by the government. They reach to a corporate place, maybe a Gurgaon or a Noida, where you've got a lot of corporate houses. What will happen? That is the time that these corporate houses reach out to risk management professionals like ourselves and ask them to get their employees moved out of risky situations. So that is something that we do. So if you feel that you're one of those who takes risks and is willing to put your life on stake to helping others, this is something that might be of interest to you. Intelligence services, whatever that I've spoken about has to be complemented by the intelligence services. And that is why a company, so all of us can do this individually, but we need a company. In my case, I'm lucky I have a Pinkerton who supports me in providing strategic analysis and reporting. So if I have to step in and do a response management, how do I go in without my inputs from a company like a Pinkerton who supports me in doing analysis and reporting what is on ground? And it doesn't mean only desktop research. It means having feet on the ground. So as a company in India or across the globe, we have people on the ground. We have some people that are employees. So we are 400 plus employees in India, but we've got people who support us. You may call them as freelancers or people who are associated or are partners who support us in providing data. So there is one team that does the desktop research, and it is complemented by the team or the feet on ground, which tell us the real intel. And intel is nothing but intelligence. Tactical intelligence alerting. We already provide inputs to our corporates or risk management professionals provide inputs. So if there is a farmer's agitation, alerts are going into corporates as to how will it turn out to be, how safe or secure, how should you manage your office environment. Threat monitoring, part of the same thing. We are monitoring. All of us are on tenterhooks, hooks, sitting on the edge of our chair and managing the threat, or monitoring the threat that is there. All of us. So imagine when we go out for a movie, what do we see? What is the risk rating that what is the rating that has given to the movie? If it is a 4+, we go out for a movie. If it's a 2+, 3+. So all of us like ratings. So risk management professionals helps corporate by summing up all this intelligence activity or a report that we share with the corporates by risk rating it, by telling them that the probability of this occurrence is this much. This is the risk that will be associated, and this is the overall scoring. On a lighter note, I remember my college days, and we used to rate our girlfriends on boyfriends as well, 1 to 10. I don't know whether you do it right now as well, but that is how we used to do it. I mean, till about the time that I was married, I was not married. I used to rate people that I used to come across. So we all love rating, and that is how we as risk professionals also do it. Business impact analysis. So we've done all of this. What is the business impact of all the risk that we've spoken about will be? Will the farmers' agitation have an impact on my day-to-day business? The supply chain, or if the vaccines are coming in, the pharma companies are reaching out. We are about to get vaccines. Will the supply chain be disrupted? There is an agitation going on. What will happen? So these are the things that are going around in the background for us, and we help our clients. Last slide from my side, which is very important, I'm sure, for all of you. After reading or listening to whatever that I've spoken, there will be a question lurking in your mind as to what are the career options in risk management for me as a student. So these are the career options that you have. You have a client account manager. You've got to acquire a client. So you have to be, so as a vision for the company or as a motto for the company, we are not here to sell products. The risk management company like Pinkerton, we don't sell products. We want to be the trusted advisor to companies in terms of risk. That is what I want from a client account manager. He should be able to advise, not sell it. We are not a FMCG company that we will go out and sell crates of soap or shampoos or things like that. You have to think, you have to devise a solution so that tomorrow down the line, whenever the person is in need, they will contact the risk management professionals. And that is why it is an important portfolio, and that is why I've kept it on top. Investigator, very specific, I've spoken about it. Sales and marketing, which is more to do desktop research. These are the people who provide us inputs, who are the companies that needs risk management, and then we reach out and support them. The risk analyst, more to do with, as I said, the gradings and the ratings, and to find out and do analysis for the risk that is going around. System analyst, more from a security system perspective. So you've got the CCTVs that is there, but how do we manage it? Of course, there's a guard sitting in your room, but that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about hardcore professionals, because they're managing alarms as well. They're managing your alarms, your firefighting equipment as well. Everything is terminating into a command center. That person handling the command center is very important. It is called a system analyst. Security specialist, I talked about protection specialist. That is what it is. Security advisor, how do you advise companies? So this is very important, because what we do is, if you've got the right mix, we implant this person on the client side. So imagine somebody like me or my colleagues sitting at DJ Academy and supporting you in terms of security. He's there 24/7 or during the office hours, 365 days a week, advising you on security matters. That is the security advisor. And business intelligence specialist, somebody who's working on intelligence, supporting the business, both from my perspective, that is company's perspective, and also from client's perspective. With that, I finished my 30 minutes and I am done. This is the logo, we never sleep. This is what we are. So you must have seen, I mean, again, somebody was asking me about Pinkerton. So just to let all of you know, we never sleep is something that New York City or Citibank picked it from us. This was coined by us, we never sleep. And now people say New York as the city that never sleeps. And Citibank also picked it up from us. So this is originally our catchword. So somebody asked me, before I end, somebody asked me what motivated me to join risk management or choose risk management as a profession. As Kalimutu introduced me, before I joined the army, before I joined the corporate world, I was in the army for 6 years. I have a family tradition of people in the army. My father, my grandfather, everybody was in the army. And for people who know Senthil and me, and there is one more colleague of mine, Captain Ravi Kant. He's joined us from Hyderabad. He's the Chief Security Officer for Trident. All three represent an arm which is called the Regiment of Artillery. And we are one of the oldest and the most decorated units. So why did I join risk management? There's a saying in the world, in the army fraternity, if you ask anybody, when you're in need, you remember only two people. One is the God and the second is a gunner. Gunner, with the artillery men or the artillery regiment is called the gunners. So as a risk management professional, it excites me. It gets my adrenaline going. It gives me that kick when I hit the sack in the night to understand that I've helped somebody. So imagine a company that calls me at 8 o'clock in the night and tells me that we are in trouble and we need you to help me. So obviously he's called his team, he's thought about God, but who does he call after that? He calls a risk management professional like us. So that is what gave me the passion or the kick to become a risk management professional, and I chose this profession. So going back to the army days, it's the closest that I could be to my favorite arm, which is the artillery. So that's it from my side, Professor Sriram. Over back to you.
Sir, you are in mute.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, audible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Captain. Very exhaustive presentation. Of course, we never know this industry encompasses so many things under its fold. I have a question to begin with, then probably I can leave the space to my students. Is it getting echoed? Am I audible, Captain?
Clear, sir. Clear.
Right.
You're the boss. Benefit echo.
Thank you. Captain, I'm looking at from the Indian business perspective or the corporate perspective. I mean, generally, correct me if I'm wrong, generally, we are more reactive than proactive. I mean, this is more or less applicable to the corporate scenario also. If that be the case, if something happens and then I start reacting, and that is applicable to the corporate sector also. If that be the case, then how this industry has been growing, how big is this industry, and what kind of growth you are looking at in the Indian corporate scenario?
That's a very valid question, Professor Narayanan, and I totally agree. So whenever we have these sessions or we talk about society as a whole, whether it's amongst the army fraternity or in the corporate structure, let us all agree to one thing, that we are very reactive.
Yeah.
I have my colleagues who are already in US, and we interact almost on a daily basis. They have already moved forward. So they're already planning as to how will the post-COVID world look like. There have been assessments that have already happened to say, how will people return to work and how will we work around? Whereas here, we are just going sector by sector. So the hotel industry, we've got one of our very senior professionals, Captain Ravikant, who's from Trident Hotel. They've already worked around to see that how does new normal look like. Airlines has already worked around. The tourism has already worked around. But what about other sectors? We're still thinking. We're still procrastinating and thinking, what will we do? So thumbs up to that one. That's a good observation. In terms of risk management, it's a reactive society. I totally agree, Professor Narayanan. I will not be able to let you know the figures or numbers. I don't want to quote in terms of monetary or financial impact. But let me tell you, society as such in India or globally is changing. People are becoming more, if I may call, they are more easily taking risk nowadays. So the more people getting into riskier situations is the time that a risk management professional sets in. You've got so many frauds that are happening in the corporate. So stepping back, we are not only into physical security risk management, we also do investigations. We also, there is natural calamities that are happening. I mean, in good old days, if there was a earthquake that happened, it shook entire India and we were running helter-skelter. We remember the plague that came in when we were kids. That is something that used to come in a decade or 20 years, in a 2 decade or 3 decades. But imagine, nowadays, every year, India is fighting with a calamity in some part of the nation. So obviously it is a reactive society, but at the same time, imagine the number of risks that we have grown to. Whether it is corporate fraud. We've got people who are joining, Professor Narayanan, you will be surprised the kind of cases that we handle. Pressures to senior most professionals are getting into things that should not be done.
Okay.
And we did an analysis and we've got Purvesh and Tapan again from risk management fraternity, and they will agree. There was an analysis that was done, and we realized the more a person spends a time in the organization, the more his idea of doing fraud increases, because now he knows what the organization is all about.
Okay. Interesting. Captain, make a note of it. No extended hours hereafter.
A fresher or a 2 year into the organization will do a fraud, but it's the other way around. It's a very surprising fact, but we are all good in Google. We can Google up and you will realize this. There's people who've spent some vintage in the organization who indulge in nefarious activities which shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
So coming back to your question, these are the issues that are highlighting, and that is why, I mean, if you're asking from a student's perspective, it's a fraternity that needs a lot of people. A few of my colleagues like Purvesh, and I don't know whether Praveen is there or not, they've done really well. They have worked with big companies like Pinkerton. They've moved on and done well for themselves in the corporate domain by doing startups. So there are companies who've started up 3 years, 4 years back in the risk management domain, and they're doing extremely well. Yeah. So if you ask me from a student's perspective, do we have job opportunities? Yes, there are. Do we make money? Yes, we do. Even if we are a reactive society, will we continue to have opportunities? Yes, we will be.
Okay.
I mean, cybersecurity, with technology, there is so many frauds that are happening. And as I said in the beginning, there are PSUs also who are coming to us. We do penetration testing, both from a cyber perspective and physical perspective.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a huge business and a huge opportunity.
Okay. Captain, only one more question. One side, you do have statutory enforcement agencies. The another side, people like you who are operating. Where do you draw the line?
Sir, this will be off the records, but we have to draw the line, but I think the advantage for us is, and again, with due respect to all people who are from civilian background, I know we are not scared to speak to police professionals or the legal fraternity. So what we do is, there's a carrot and stick, Professor Narayanan, to be really honest, to deal with these people. Sometimes you have your friends and families and some. So we're very good. Just to put it in a perspective, risk management professionals are very liaison oriented. So we do a lot of liaison. We interact with a lot of people. So imagine tomorrow if I have to do something in a college or something, I have you to fall back. So I'll come back to you and say that we are doing a risk management for a college. Would you want to be involved? So similarly,
Okay.
different spectrum that we operate in, sometime or the other, we get to rub shoulders with our counterparts in the uniformed services.
Yes.
More often than not, they're willing to support.
Okay.
Contrary to the public opinion that they work only when they are post or they are, this thing, but they're good people as well. So it's about going to the right person for the right job, and we get it done.
Okay. Thank you. Students, it's your turn now.
Students, you all have access. You can unmute and come forward.
Sir, I am Lokeshwaran from DJ Academy, sir. It was a nice session, sir. We learned a lot of new things from this session. My question is, in what way does the startups how well they are managing this kind of risk? They are very not much managing kind of risk. And what is the role of PINKERTON in startups?
Great, Lokeshwaran, your voice was cracking, but I think what you meant was what is the opportunity for startup in this sector, right?
No, sir. A role of
business opportunity for
startups, sir. How you are helping them, sir? First.
Lokeshwaran, your voice is breaking. Probably can you put your question in the chat box, if you don't mind?
Lokesh, you put in chat box. I will take it to sir. I think you have a bandwidth issue, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Shantanu, what he is asking is how the startups are doing in the risk management area and how PINKERTON is collaborating with them, or that is the question he has typed.
Okay, so Lokeshwaran, I think that's a very valid question. The startups are doing really well. You have to have, as I said, a knack of doing this, handling this profession, and they are doing really well. How does PINKERTON help them? So in terms of PINKERTON, and I take pride, I've completed 4.5 years with PINKERTON, and I take pride, in corporate jargon, if I may put it, we outsource a lot of work. We can't have a bench strength in this profession, Lokeshwaran, where we need 20 people sitting in the office and waiting for business or issues to come in. So what we do is we've got experts, or we've got people who understand the risk scenario. We have the trusted advisors in the office. And once we reach out to the client or we are delivering a service, we reach out to the market where we have our partners. So in the last 4.5 years, we've developed a good partnership, and almost in all the, I divided India into 6 zones for ease of understanding. And we've got 6 partners who are supporting us in all these zones in different sectors, whether it is investigation, whether it is physical security. That is how we do it. And that is how most of the organization does in this domain, because we can't have a bench strength. We are not selling soaps and sodas where we will have a bench strength and keep manufacturing it. So it's all risk management companies are very lean organizations with support from outsourced companies where we always fall back to and ask them to support. So there is huge opportunity for startups to get into this. If you can get technological know-how into this domain, that will be an advantage for all of us. I'll just quote an example, Lokeshwaran. So we are recently talking with a multinational bank for doing audits, risk assessments in our parlance. So it's basically a checklist-based audit where we will go to these branches and work around and tick in the box to say that whether they are compliant with specific audit points. So if there is a technology which can support in this, where we just go down on the ground, or we don't have to go down on the ground in the new normal, that will be something that as a risk management professional or a risk management company that we would be looking out to. I hope, Lokesh, I've answered your query.
Yes, sir.
When may I ask my questions?
Yeah, Revati, please go ahead.
Yeah, Shantanu, that was very, very interesting because I was trying to, see the link between a business school and Pinkerton. But your presentation made it very, very clear. And I liked your definition of risk management. Okay. My This is maybe an observation and a question also, and partly based on what Professor AGV mentioned. Um, I think there's basically altogether too much of positive thinking going around. People are saying always think positive and think positive, and there's not enough of negative thinking going around. And I had this discussion with an author called Oliver Bookman. He who talks about the power of negative thinking in his book The Antidote. And I think I once had this discussion with Professor Narayan also. There's not enough of people, because I think some amount of negative thinking is what helps you in risk management. I'm not sure. You need to have a fallback plan A to Z. You have to plan. Somebody has to play a devil's advocate. But I find that this is not happening. So basically, is it because we need to promote a culture of risk awareness, or if so, how do we go about doing it? Because like Professor Narayan says, all of us, we are reactive, we are not preventive. So how do we go about promoting a culture of risk awareness all around? Situational awareness, risk awareness. There's also this Prussian military commander says that, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So how much ever you prepare and all that, how do you react on the situation? Is there something we can do for it based on your experience?
Great. So, Revati ma'am, I think you've asked a very valid question and or query, and you've answered it as well. But I will just simplify it. So, both ancient philosophy and modern psychology suggest that darker thoughts or negative thoughts can make us happier. I will tell you how it helps us in the risk management domain. When we have to plan a situation, we can't go by everything positive and imagine that everything is going to fall into place. You quoted a military commander. We've got a lot of fellow army men in this group, August session. And we've done this in the army days. And that is why when you ask me, how do you correlate yourself as a risk management professional? It was muscle memory to us. Okay. We were trained to think about negatives. I mean, okay. As a Piscean, I always want to be very positive and think and look at life through rose-colored glass, but that is not how plans work. Again, going back to my being a gunner or an artillery man, I'll just quote an example. Whenever we used to do firing, and all of us, Senthil, me, Ravikant, we've been engaged in this. When we joined, we had Parliament attack, and we were at eyeball to eyeball contact with our beloved neighbors. And that was the first time that after 1971 we opened up. When we say opened up means we fired artillery guns. I mean, now there's a lot of gung-ho, you got uris and movies being made, but we did all of this in good old days. It's just about media blare and everybody being very nationalistic nowadays, but this has been done. So what we used to do is every time in the gunner fraternity or in the artillery, when we are firing, we used to lay down 2 lines of communication. In fact, there were 3. 2 were physical. So how do we communicate? You must be thinking, how do we communicate during war? There are no cell phones that operate in war zones. They don't give you tasks. There are no network. So you remember as a kid, students and Revati ma'am, we used to play this matchbox game where a thread used to go from
semaphore.
Exactly. So that is the concept that we still work on. It's a tried and tested. We've been doing it since World War days. So there's a wire that goes from this part of the gun, from where the guns are deployed to the other part. And this might stretch up to 30, 40 kilometers. And you have to man this line to ensure that no person or person who wants to disrupt the firing comes and cuts it. So there is a team that is working on this. So we used to have 2 lines like this, spread by 2 individual teams. So if me and Professor Narayanan are spreading the first line, the other team, so you and Professor Sriram will be doing the second line. It might go on the same road, but it will be there. And then the third one is radio communication, which might get jammed by the Pakis or it might get disrupted. That is why this is there. So, I mean, we all believe, and I'm sure as management professionals, you agree that most of the things that is being taught in management schools came from the army. And I take pride in being, having served in the organization. Similarly, in the risk management domain, I'll quote an example. I was not in this organization. We had Nepal earthquake. We were the first ones to reach there, me and some team members. And Professor Narayanan also asked me, how do we cope up or how do we involve? As a civilian, we were able to fly out passengers from Nepal in Indian Air Force helicopters. It's not that we told them that we are army men and please help us. No. We were strictly on business. It's just about contacting the right people, asking for the right questions. So it was a totally negative situation. When we landed at Nepal, it was like, I mean, the world had collapsed. There was nothing there when we reached. But slowly and so obviously when you go on the flight, the flight time from here to Nepal, we were amongst the stupid people who were going into Nepal while people were flying out of Nepal, most of them. But we had to go there. And imagine the state of mind, Revati ma'am, we can't be going in that, oh, when we go there, we will have the Indian ambassador welcoming us and giving us lemon.
True.
No. We want to have that. We want to have our corporate supporting us there, but there was nobody. So on our way to the flight, we chalked out all negative scenarios that we could encounter. One of the out of 4 people, I mean, to the extent that if one of us meets the ultimate fate and he dies, what will we do with him? What is if we come across a dead body? So we carried body bags. So all this has to be done. So as I said, that you've asked the question and you answered it. As students, you have to prepare for the worst, and that is what I said in the first slide. You have to be prepared for the first and be ready for the worst and be ready to be surprised. So as
Shantanu, sorry, you mentioned muscle memory. No, I mean that really struck me. No, how do you extend it to a business sense, a business scenario? I mean, as you're answering this, can you add that so that the students will also see how they can make use of muscle memory to respond to situations?
Sure. And apologies and step back. Most of army men and professors and teachers like yourself, we know what muscle memory is, and children, students have to be elaborated. So I'll take this opportunity. So in corporates, what we do is, and we used to, again, as I said, a lot of things have come from the army. So we do this in the army. We are doing it in the corporate nowadays. There are a lot of mock drills that happen. So in the army, we are not always at war. So you must be thinking, Acha, what do you do during peacetime? There is no war with Pakistan. So which means you must be partying, you must be doing this. No, it doesn't happen like that. In 12 months, for 4 to 5 months, we are there firing, maintaining our guns. We go down to the ranges, we fire them, we check our efficiency. and we get certified as to how battle ready we are. So if there is a war tomorrow, there is an audit team which tells us how the team is ready for battle. So that is Army. Coming to the corporate. And Professor Narayanan asked, how are we as a society? So slowly there is changes, Professor Narayanan, and we're doing this. People are coming out and getting audits done. Similar audits are taking place here. As I said, we do physical mock drills. We do physical penetration testing. We do cyber penetration testing. So what happens is we give a mock drill. We do a mock drill. We give situation to a corporate. It might be a desktop. It might be a physical mock drill. And this mock drill in good organizations are being done almost every quarter. In some situations, almost every month. So that what happens? What is muscle memory, as Revati ma'am asked me? So for students, if there is a situation, so you're in the college, there's an earthquake or there's a disaster that strikes. What muscle memory prompts you to do is, even if your eyes are closed, you should be able to act on it. So if the process or the laid down protocol and process tells you that if there's an earthquake, you need to get under the table, you need to pick up the grab bag, and grab bag is different to what school bags or college bags that you carry. Grab bag has got essentials. So again, one more important point. How many of us as Indians, reactive versus proactive, have a grab bag? In the Europe or as risk management professional, I've got a grab bag at my house. What is a grab bag? It's got basic essentials. It's got a pair of clothes. It's got drinking water. It's got torch. It's got basic cash. So tomorrow, I'm in Mumbai, if there's an earthquake or something strikes or there is flood, I just pick that bag up and step out of the house. I don't go looking for cash or jewelry and other things that can follow. I've got a small Nokia phone with charger, with power bank, everything there, and I keep charging and charging the power bank every month. So that is the muscle memory. If there is a problem as a corporate, as a student, how will you react? You don't need to think then. Your muscles will react automatically. That is the muscle memory. So for example, again to college life, if you're going out for a movie and you see a teacher there who's on an audit trip, or Professor Narayanan going past his staff car and you see that he's going by, how do you react? You don't think then. You just react. You duck. You avoid, you don't let him see you. That is muscle memory. So that you will get only once you practice and practice and practice again. As we say in the army, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. It's that simple. So you got to practice and keep practicing to make it a muscle memory.
Thank you so much, Shantanu. Shantanu, there's just a small anecdote. I'll not take a lot of time. This happened in one of the colleges I was working for. Professor Narayan also knows. For the alarm bell to signify the end of study period, the next class starts, they were using sirens. Emergencies, the same emergency sirens. So I wrote a note to the principal and the staff, top management, saying that you should avoid it, because it's an engineering college. They are going to work in industries. And if they are so used to listening to this sort of siren, and they are going to be conditioned to not respond to an emergency siren because they are so used to it in a very positive manner. So you should avoid using this for anything. And the top management got back to me and said, most of the senior professors are slightly deaf. This is the only thing that works. No, but this is the sort of thinking that is, I think it's totally against what you're talking about. So thanks a lot, Shantanu. Thanks so much.
It is reverse muscle memory.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I think that's a very good instance or anecdote that you shared, Revati.
Thanks. Yeah.
In fact, Shantanu, even when I used to work in corporates, all these mock drills, fire drills, we used to get an email at least a day in advance saying that there is going to be a fire drill, and
surprise fire drill something.
Yeah.
At this particular time, it is going to be a fire drill. So then the whole purpose is not solved, right?
Exactly.
But they say, okay, you inform your customers as if, if you do a surprise, that customer is going to be annoyed of that.
Exactly.
But that is how it is. It has to be done with such a sincerity that actually it becomes a memory rather than just for the sake of it.
And just to add to that, Senthil, thanks for bringing it up, Professor Narayanan and Revti ma'am in the students. The advantage of being a risk management professional is to interact with both, I mean, the entire world. So you have a client, I've interacted with German clients who are very professional, Senthil, and nothing of this sort happens there. If it's a surprise mock drill, only one person in the entire organization and the risk management team will get to know of it. And I mean, contrary to and cut to this similar situation in India, you'll have a mail going out, there's a surprise drill, and the entire element. So that's the advantage, and that's the learning that we get out of working in an environment like a risk management, where you get to interact with varied professional companies.
Interesting. Yeah.
So one question from my end, Shantanu. As I understood from your presentation, and many times you are talking about people coming from ex-forces, definitely they do fit into this industry. But what is the kind of opportunity for the civilians, like my students who are coming from entirely civil background? They don't have the privilege of coming from army background, or they have not seen the environment as such. So I'm not sure whether they'll be comfortable to getting into this area, because they may think only the people who have served in army and all. Even though you made it very clear during the presentation, all of us basically have that instinct of risk management. But in the industry, what is the trend? In your experience in the last 15 years, what do you think is the percentage of people who come from forces versus the civilians in the industry, and how do the civilians fare against the forces, right? Who does better as a career?
Thanks, Senthil. Thanks for bringing that up. And that was the agenda, Senthil, and that is why I took example from their college life to make them believe. So at least so all of us should agree that nobody is born a risk management professional. Okay, the way that we grow up, we start taking risk. When we first started walking, the risk associated to it. Our father or our mother was the risk management professional telling us what will happen if we walk, how will we fall down. So that is how we've graduated. And today there is the DNA as a human being. We've got situations, or we can handle risk, or we can manage risk. So we fit the definition. That's the first thing. Whether he's a army man, a civilian, a lawyer, a boy, a girl, anybody. I mean, there are nothing to do with this thing. But Purvesh is, I don't know whether he's still there, but Purvesh has been there, and Purvesh is pioneer in Mumbai, where we are working about getting transgender into risk management, because we want to give it back to the society. So just don't believe that a particular sex, caste, creed will do better or not. Having put that aside, now let's come to, as Senthil asked in a very genuine question, and I'll share details. We've got Fauji's definitely, but let me tell you, there are more civilians than army men or policemen or lawyers in this industry. Because by the end of the day, and that is why I kept it for the students, and when I said the profiles that I shared, that is where we will need people who are fresh, who have exuberance, who have got a lot of ideas to support us. A person like me, if I'm asked to build up an app or build up an idea, I mean, I don't know about other colleagues that I have on the call, but at least I will move the left foot forward, and I'll be limping away to making a technology app for the company. But imagine a Lokeshwaran or a Kalimuthu or a Nandini doing it for my company. The ideas that you have, you will definitely gel up. So there is huge opportunity. The companies that are being run, 4Gs, to be really honest, if you ask me what is the percentage, are around 20% at different levels. Obviously, there are no freshers who are 4G, so we join at a middle and a senior management level. But freshers, there are people who started off as freshers, who started off as investigative agents, have grown up to open up companies now, startups in the last 4 or 5 years. So that is the environment that we operate for the companies, and civilians are more than welcome. So just don't keep that in your mind. If you have the bent, if this excites you, do something that excites you. If it excites you, we'll welcome you with open arms.
Great. That's really great, Shantanu. I see Captain Ravikant also. Ravi, would you like to add your comments, especially in terms of this question, because I know you have been in the hotel industry for long. and right now also heading the Trident as Chief Security Officer. So what do you think? The civilians are faring well in this industry, or there is still an advantage for the army folks?
Oh yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, very well, very well.
Thanks, Senthil, for inviting me.
Strength 5, Ravi, strength 5.
Thank you. It's a very interesting question, Senthil, and a concern which is relevant nowadays. Okay. Having said that, I'll just inform everyone that I am the Chief Security Officer for Trident Hyderabad. It's part of the Oberoi group of hotels over here. And with a team of around 40, I'm the only Fauji in the team.
Oh.
So that goes to say, I have 39 civilians under me. And each of them is performing as well as I do. Okay. And some of them are better than me. I would dare say that.
Okay. Okay.
Just to
Great.
Narayanan, just take so Senthil, just to brief all of you, there are corporate houses, and because I represent an organization, I don't want to take names, but I can connect offline. And Senthil, I'm sure you're aware, there are corporate houses which are running programs where they're picking up NCC candidates or college professionals like your students, and absorbing them into their corporate chain, into the security domain. So they train them. It's a 6 or a 7 month training program where they train them into different. It's big corporate houses. They range from oil to to phones and everything. So they build up these training institutes, train these students, and so they start off at a middle level.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, but I think you can't take the names, but yeah, I do. I can take. Yes, like Reliance also. I know they have their own setup in a big way. Like, yeah, I think corporates all
Exactly.
do that. So that is why I wanted to have this session when I spoke to Dr. Narayanan as to how this is going to help. Because this is something we have been having a lot of webinars during this last 7-8 months, even this pandemic. We have covered many industries, but this risk and security industry is something which we didn't talk to our students, but it is a huge industry and it is growing multifold, right? Because every organization, every company needs it. So there is a huge potential for our students to step into and take it up as a career.
And believe you me, students and Professor Narayanan and Senthil, there are cases where civilians are CSOs. We know of companies, and I'm talking about multinationals here. I'm talking about ITES giants, where civilians are heading the security fraternity. We work very closely with them. So please don't have that misconception or inhibition that you will not do well. If you have the knack, you have the passion, please join in, and you'll be you will do tremendously well.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. I'm Ditya from first year MBA. So my question is, what are the political risks faced by Pinkerton, sir?
Sorry, I lost you there. What are the risks?
Political risk.
So political risks faced by Pinkerton is nothing per se, but so there's a mantra that we follow. We don't work for we don't work for politicians. We don't work for religious organizations. We don't work for private. So we do a lot of detective work, but believe you me, my number is there on the website. So people call me up and say that I've got to put detective behind my wife or my husband, and we totally reject that. We've got political organizations, and believe me, one of the biggest one, they wanted us to design their head office, which was coming up in Delhi, and we declined. So we don't indulge in any kind of activity with them. So that is one thing. Political risk, we don't per se get into, but our clients do get. So just to quote an example, in Karnataka, we have one of our clients who's being troubled by a farmers organization who supports farmers. So they're reaching out to us, they're reaching out to our clients and troubling them. So that is the risk that we handle for our clients. So it is not directly with us, but we represent our clients. We go down on the ground and kind of mediate and support and speak with the police and sort this out. But yes, we do handle political risks, but it doesn't come to Pinkerton directly. So Pinkerton is, touchwood and God forbid, not been under any political risk from anybody. And that's the advantage of being an American company, I guess.
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
Karthik from second MBS.
Yeah, Karthik, please.
Sir, what is the private detective agencies' dedication towards national security?
That's a good question, Karthik. I will not be able to share the details per se, because again, it's as you very rightly said, it's national security. But yes, it is there. What happens is, as Professor Narayanan asked in his questions, how do we work with police? So there are some cases where police can't do things or can't reach out. Let me tell you, the top-notch crime agencies, investigative agencies of India and across the world, the Americans have reached out to companies like us and normal private detective agencies as well, where they need support. So it's kind of a handshake where sometimes they need our support and sometimes we need their support. So yes, there is a lot of synergy we work around. But I'll not be able to share examples or figures in terms of how many cases. But yes, there is synergy, and as I said, not only in India, we work abroad also.
Okay.
So Karthik, just to quote an example, and we take pride, organizations like mine have supported US Army outside of America whenever they've gone. So some places they need contractors to work with them where they can't send in US Army. Again, I can't take names, but the risk management companies have supported organizations. It's the same way here. If the police needs some support, some investigation to be done, obviously at some times we are advanced than them in terms of technology or having feet on ground or having people from that particular area that they want to operate in. So they send or reach out to us.
So, shall I ask another one question?
Yes, Karthik, the session is for you. I've got the entire Saturday.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there are many organizations, detective organizations, which has been also politicized. They are working under some of their own ideology. So it is a criticism to this sector. So how an organization would be an example for future youngsters? Which type of organism we can take as an example in this detective business?
Sure, Karthik. Very valid point, and it's a good question. I think it's an intelligent question, Karthik. A lot of organizations have been politicized, and not because they were politically oriented, but because of the work that they've done. So I'll quote an example. If there is a workers' unrest happening in one of the plants, risk management companies are approached because that plant or companies, last month only I was on a project and we were working with a big pharma giant on something like this. So they approach us to help them in resolving situation. So the situation is people are being retrenched, the plant is getting decommissioned, and they ask people to move out. So obviously the workers will get into an unrest. That is where the organizations come in and support. How do we support? It doesn't mean that we go, that a risk management company starts getting bouncers and start beating the labor unions and other things. We work as mediators. So if there are points that we ensure that there is no risky situation, we ensure that there is no physical violence of any sort. So we act as a bridge and at the same time as a wall between the labor unions and between the management of the plant. So that is very important, and that is a very thin rope that you've got to walk in. That is how we do it. Now, to answer to the second part of your question, which organization you should join? You should join an organization, Karthik. This is a generation, we do a lot of Google, we study the cases, what has happened to what. You should join an organization which has got a rich heritage, which has got a brand to protect, which has got a reputation at stake in the country, in a country that it operates in. These are the kind of organizations that you should associate with. If you Google up, you will find there have been organizations which have supported US Army in various activities, and they've been blacklisted by the same army because of the issues or the way that they handled the contractual work that was given to them. So you got to do your due diligence. And as I said in the beginning, due diligence is an important aspect as a risk management professional. So if you decide to join a company, do the due diligence, speak to people, find out what the company is about. Don't just go in for anybody who gives you an offer and gives you an offer letter, because by the end of the day, you must have seen one of the main things that you should do as risk management professionals, read a lot and read newspapers every day. It will tell you what are the kind of risks. How many of you know that today, obviously I had a session I've done with my morning chores, I did my newspaper reading. The TOPS group, which is the biggest, one of the biggest security agencies providing manpower, guarding agency, their ex-MD has been put behind bar. Imagine an ex-MD being put behind bar because of thing that he may or may not have done. So you've got to do your due diligence before you join a company, not just the first company that comes fly by the night and gives you a offer letter to join in. So do your due diligence, join a company with good heritage, good reputation, and you will learn and grow in the company like that.
Thank you, sir.
Sujit, you want to comment? Yes.
Sir, I'm Hemchand, sir, first year MBA. Sir, my actually the session was so interesting, sir. We came to know about many risk management. And sir, my question is about what are the cyber attacks faced by your organization, sir? How were you able to overcome it, sir?
Sure. So, Hemchand, I hope you'll be now able to make the right decision for your life partner with the risk management roles that I shared today. I hope that was the hidden agenda, and I hope all of you have a good life partner. Whether you join risk management or not, that's secondary. Coming back to your question, Hemchand, to be really honest, I can't share the numbers, but I can share some examples. That's a good question, and companies do come up. So you have these lot of phishing attacks that are happening. Organizations are sent mail where they are. So if I'm the director, a mail will come to maybe the finance department saying that Shantanu has approved so many $1,000 of transaction, and I'm sharing the banking account detail. Please transfer it right away. And there's just how do we find it is a different story. But people in their busy life don't really realize sometimes, and they quickly do it. It's happened to a lot of big organizations who are selling sodas and soaps and everything. So don't think that big organizations don't do it. They fall for small little scams. That is first. That is one of the main examples that comes to my mind. Their websites are hacked. There are things that are mentioned or posted on their websites. That is something that keeps happening. The latest example, as I said, that you've got to work around and read newspapers and everything. And imagine the reputation that goes for a toss. And I'm not saying that it was a cybersecurity risk or anything, but I think the second largest Indian bank, public bank, private bank, if you read newspapers and you realized was banned by the government to launch or sell any more credit cards because their IT infrastructure was not being supported. And today, in today's newspaper, they've said that they will take 3 months to get their IT infrastructure in place. So imagine the loss of reputation, because they're the second largest private bank. So the first one will always talk about they not being up to the IT standards. Imagine the risk, imagine the loss of revenue that they are, because the government has said that you will not sell credit cards, you will not launch your e-pay or your pay wallet and other things. So that is the kind of environment that we're operating. Sometimes there might be risks, or there might be outside people who come onto and pose cyber risk. There are sometimes internal agendas hidden, which is done. And sometimes it's just sheer bad luck where your IT infrastructure doesn't cope or collapses and it goes for a toss and your brand reputation is at stake. Just few of the broad examples, Hemchand, that I wanted to highlight. Can't go into the details and the client and the sector names. I hope that gives you comfort and answers your query.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi,
sir. Myself Sujit from first MBA, sir. The session is really interesting, sir. I have one question, sir. What are the prospects for MBA graduate in risk management domain, sir?
Sujit, as I said, and as you must have realized during the agenda, it is not only for MBA graduate. There is prospect from maybe a 12th pass to a postgraduate person in a risk management company. So don't restrict yourself or just think that how do we get into MBA management. You can get into a specialized zone. You can get into a business role. But as I said, in risk management, there is no sales. You have to be the trusted advisor. You've got to understand the risk. You've got to work around, become the advisor, and you'll be more than welcomed into an organization. So to answer to your question, there is a lot of scope. You've got to have that bent of mind. And that is why I talked about and gave you examples, which is easier for you to understand. If you have the answers or you do the question, you have the answer is yes for the questions that I asked or the situations that I posed, you got the bent of mind for it. So you can be a risk management professional. Second, because of your MBA, whatever study that you do, I've always been a propagator of the basic study all of you are doing. As an MBA student, there are so many qualities that you get. Time management, working under pressure, working under timelines. These are the things that you need as a risk management professional. So there is a fit. There is a glove, which is the risk management. You have your hand, it goes inside it, it fits. Now you've got to decide where do you have to take this hand and glove and where do you have to go? That is something that you have to decide. If you ask me, will you be fit as an MBA graduate? All of you are fit. It's just about getting the right opportunity, the right kind of profile for you fitting in, and the company has vacancy. Because as I said, all risk management firms are very lean organizations. We don't have bench strength of huge people, and that is how we work.
Okay, sir. So I have another question, sir. What are the top risks faced by a company, sir?
So if you remember the risk wheel that I spoke about, it encompasses all. But if you ask me in current situation, and all of you will be glad to hear, we do India risk survey every year, Professor Narayanan, and I'll be happy to add you and a few of your students next time around. We do it with FICCI, and it's a survey that is done and released every year. We've delayed it this year, so it will be beginning of 21. You can go to Pinkerton website, Sujit, and just or Google it, India Risk Survey. You'll find out, or I'll share the link with Professor Sriram. You can reach out. So it gives you, it will be a good read for people who are interested in risk domain. It classifies risks per sector. So what does the IT firm classify as priority 1? What does a FMCG, what does a hotel and tourism company? So we've done the sector-wise classification for risk. That is the first part, Sujit. So every sector has got different risks. But if you ask me to generalize, when we did it in 2019, one of the main risks that people thought about was not pandemic, but disruption to business because of, say, natural calamities. And the second one was political unrest. So obviously, political unrest, we had to really sugarcoat it because FICCI is involved in releasing that book. So we had to sugarcoat it with the way things are going. But these are top 2, and the third one was cyber. So these are the top 3 things. And it was totally changed in 2018. We had different issues in 2018, and we were also surprised that 2019 saw, because if you observe and if you go back, 2018-19 had a lot of natural calamities hitting India. So that is why 2019 we had it on the top.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, Lokesh one here, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, Lokesh, you are.
Sir, how did you help the organizations in this COVID time to manage the supply chain risks, sir?
Lokesh, as I said, you in risk management, you have to be averse to risk and you have to be ready to take risk. So, in fact, we had lot of supply chain issues during COVID, and we were supporting them. To be really honest, if you ask me how, it was just about people ready to take risk, people who were willing to step out when the entire, and obviously we had nobody ringing bells or clanging plates for us because we were in the background, but we did support pharma giant, two major pharma giants, ensuring that supply chain is maintained from all over India. So they were getting stuff from all over India at one particular place. So we were supporting them. If you ask me how, we used technology and we used feet on ground. So we had people, we took necessary precautions, we got everything signed by the authorities for the supply chain to be allowed. And if you remember, and if you read the newspaper during initial lockdown days, security professionals were given the leeway, or we were given the discount to travel during COVID period. So we used that discounted process. We got it approved. We took passes. That is the first thing. The second is we also did a lot of movement where employees were stranded. That will be of interest because you asked about supply chain, where people were stranded in particular because lockdown was just announced. It was a knee-jerk reaction. People thought it's going to be for a week and we're going to revert back to normal days. It didn't happen. So we had employees struck back. A lot of clients had their employees stuck at different locations. We supported them as well. And so you also asked me about startup last time in the last query, Lokesh. So we reached out to our partners, and that is how I said that we always support startup. We reached out to our partners who supported us in physical aspect. We did desktop research. We had our transport partner providing us vehicles which were totally sanitized. So these are a few of the things or examples that we did.
Thank you, sir.
Shantanu, this is a question for all the captains who are sitting here. Okay. Of late, of course, it's good to note Faujis are occupying coveted positions in the industry, or I can call it across the industries and across the domains too. Okay, not only in security management, even in marketing or finance or HR or whatsoever. Okay, what is the secret behind your success in the corporate world?
Just to add, Professor Narayanan, we've got few superintendent and SSPs and IASs as well.
Yeah,
From
right.
our age group. Obviously, there are people who are politicians as well. We've got one of the sisters who's a captain's hub. So I think I think all of you will agree.
How come you are given the red carpet welcome in the corporate world?
No. When we start off, Professor Narayanan, we have to prove ourselves. We start off as freshers. When Senthil was in HR, so he'll let you know more. Ravi has been, he's done really well for himself. I started off with ICICI Bank. For students who don't know, I worked with ICICI and Vodafone. And then I started last 7-8 years, I've been with multinationals, but initial 2 stints were. So no, we are not welcomed because of, I wouldn't say not welcomed. We are welcomed because of the rank associated. They give us that respect, but then we have to prove ourselves. That's the first thing. Once you've proven, sky is the limit. You yourself were very magnanimous in your appreciation, and you talked about sectors. The mantra for us is, I think, the way, and there are people, Professor Narayan, I'll say, who they amongst us, some few of our course-mates who have not done that well in the corporate world. I think people who forget what has been taught in the army, as I said, whatever that management schools that you professors are teaching in the management world, we've been taught, and it is muscle memory in army. Just to quote a small example, and this was being asked to me a lot of time, just a small example I will tell you, and which will, obviously there are a lot of time management, we handle pressure. For us, I mean, I sleep a good night's sleep, even if my targets are not met or anything, because I know that that's not the end of life. Because there we used to step out. Imagine the kind of pressure we were in. We were all 20 to 24 years old, and there was a good jargon that was there at that time. At 23, 30 men could live by your word and even die for it. That is the kind of pressure that we were under. So imagine if I said we have to go left, and people went left, and there was something that harmed my, out of one person out of that, imagine the kind of guilt that you had to live with. That person, his wife, his kid, that life lost is on your head. I still get goosebumps when I talk about it. So that is the kind of pressure that you. Coming back to the example, If I give a task to somebody in the corporate world, and if he doesn't do it, I have to send a follow-up to him. So if Professor Narayanan has given a task to me, Shantanu as an MBA student, and asks me to submit a project, you will give me a task, you will say, because as professors or as corporate, we always give timeline. So we say 15th of December is the timeline. I will not submit it in the civil world. I will not even tell Professor Narayanan. I will just forget. When you're walking, I'll go past you. I will not see you in the eye. And then Professor Narayanan, because he's busy, he set a timer or he set a reminder. 15th evening, he will realize, oh, bloody Shantanu has not submitted the project that I had asked for. You will send a reminder to me. In army, there is a simple saying, a work given to me, and I still take pride in it. I say to my family as well, if you've given a task to me, consider it done. You don't have to repeat it.
Yeah.
If God forbid, I am unable to submit as a Fauji, as a professional from the army, if I'm unable to submit that project, I will call a professor. I will get to know on 14th night whether I'm about to, whether I can submit or not. I will call a Professor Narayanan on the 14th and tell him, sir, I will not be able to submit my proposal. May I please be extended 2 days time or 3 days? That is the difference. I don't get that thing in the civil. And that is what I'm doing well. I had people who were 10th pass. When I say I talk about Ravi and Senthil and Badal sir and everybody. We had people who were 8th, 10th pass, Professor Narayanan, and we used to give them task. They used to call us up in the high conflict zone or high pressure, call us up and say, Saab, ye kaam nahi hua, ye kaam ke liye mere ko ye 2-3 cheez chahiye ya 2-3 din ka time chahiye. In corporate, they will never call you back. They will, you give them a task and then you have to set a reminder to follow up. To follow up, that is a live example that I've experienced. The concept of follow-up is not there in the corporate. If you do it, obviously, apart from time management, we've learned there are gurus who are teaching time management. There are lectures that are being given to people and they understand. But for us, time management, handling pressure, everything is muscle memory.
Yeah.
When you do it in the corporate, when I joined corporate, I used to do this. My team leaders in ICICI or my last 7-8 years, I've got bosses who've been outside of India, who've been expats. So when I do all of this, they get very happy because they've not been exposed to something like this. A task given to you, consider it done. If you follow that mantra, you'll be successful.
Exactly.
Everybody wants a person like that.
Just to add to it, Shantanu, like you were talking about time management skills and all that. I know that there's somebody who's trying to work with ex-military men to help them get into corporate sector. So there is always the question of what is a transferable skill from a military background to a corporate sector. Like you were saying, time management. That's a transferable skill. But the problem is people from that sector to this sector, they are not able to quantify it in that manner. Okay, they say we follow commands, we do this operation. But so if there are any other such transferable skill sets that we can identify from this group to that group, that will be a huge learning from a HR perspective also. And Captain Sendil Kumar, I'll be in touch with you future on this particular.
Sure, ma'am. Shantanu, I can take this. Can I take this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, Shantanu put it in a very nice way, but it is not just 2-3 qualities which he mentioned. Actually, when we are selected as officers in the army, we go through a process called Services Selection Board, right? SSB.
Right.
So that is a very, very elaborate process wherein they look for 15 OLQs, officers like qualities.
Okay.
We call it officers like quality, wherein there is something called as decision making skill, speed of decision, right? Decision making skill, adaptability, and then courage, physical courage as well as moral courage, right? And then time management, likewise, caring for the society. So almost 15 qualities are seen, and based on those qualities only, the intake is taken. So that is where it is taken care of. Right. And after that, to add it, to concrete these qualities, we go through this academy days, the most grueling or most remembered days also, because like Shantanu or Ravi or Badal sir, we all have gone through such a grueling 1.5 years training, or if somebody goes through NDA, 4 years of training, that is where when he says muscle memory, it is ingrained into us, all these qualities. So even if today I don't want it, I cannot, right? Because it is, for example, it's a Sunday, just a very tiny example or a very silly one, you may think so. But on a Sunday, if I don't shave, I feel like, I'm missing something, So it is like, even on Sundays, when you have to go for a party or when you have to go and meet, friends, even postmen, we always do a shave and try to look good in front of each other. So that bearing, how do you carry yourself? All these things are ingrained into you over the period of training period, as well as it is followed in your work culture also, right? When you go to the unit, you see your peers, you see your men who, as Shantanu said, they just follow whatever orders you give. So it is not, you have to always keep the fact that you are an officer of Indian Army of great traditions. You have put stars on your shoulders, but still you have to earn it, right? When you go to the unit, it's not like a captain has come, lieutenant has come, everybody starts straight away start following you. They may salute you because of the virtue of putting those stars, but still for our seniors, they tell us you have to earn your respect, right? That is what I tell my students. There is nothing by virtue of it, it just comes. You have to still earn it as an officer also by proving that being a role model, right? So once it is all ingrained, ma'am, that doesn't, these hard habits don't go off easily. So when like Dr. Narayan was asking, how do we excel when you come to the civil world? Definitely it's not an easy cakewalk. We also have struggled, but once we come in, our muscle memory kicks in. And you know what, if I can take one more minute, when I joined this LMW group, there was only one question our chairman asked. Since many of us localites, you will know about our chairman, Mr. Sanjay Jayavardhan. He asked me only one question after that introduction part. Typically, when you go for an interview, they ask, tell me about yourself. So I spoke for 20 minutes about my career in Army and Air Force and all that. End of the thing, he said, Captain, since it is an interview and I have to ask you a question, I'm asking you one question. He said, I have seen people right from Air Vice Marshals, generals to majors and captains. Many of them have succeeded, but I've seen some people who couldn't easily gel to the civil world because, as Shantanu said, if we give a task, it is done. But in the army world, but not in the civil world. So what is your style of working, right? This is the only question he asked me and I answered it and I got selected. So if you're interested, the answer is, I said, sir, I know people who come after 30 years, 40 years, it's very difficult to adapt because they also get too much into that, kind of work culture. But since myself, Shantanu is one of the youngest in our army gangs also. So when he came out, he was hardly, I think, 27, 28 probably, or less than that. I even have a coursemate who is like 26, 27, he came out of army. So, but when we come out at a young age, that is an advantage. So because we have seen the tough life and here also we are ready to adapt to the civil world. So I said, since I have served already 13 years in the corporate world, I know the nuances. Now I had to adapt to this civil culture. And he was very satisfied and he gave me a job of chief executive, right? So that is how it is. So you have to be, the adaptability is very easy to say, ma'am, but it's not so easy
very easy. Very,
right.
very true.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Captain
Captain
Ravi.
Sanatkumar. First of all, huge respect to all of you from the military who've made it big in the corporate world. Just one more point, Professor Narayan, this is from a purely HR perspective, because during the lockdown, we are talking more about upskilling and reskilling because of the jobs going down, new jobs are being created and all that. So I've also talked a lot about transferable skills, So like you were saying that you went through a lot of areas over that. So if there is some session or something where you have shared these and how it relates to the business field, I think that will be a good insight and also a reading which we can pass on to students as well as ex-military men. That's all I wanted. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Huge respect.
We will do that, Revati. Thank you.
Yeah.
Captain Ravi, can we have your views on the earlier question, on the earlier subject, if you don't mind?
On the subject which Senthil has just answered, sir?
Yeah.
So I have a slightly different view. I wouldn't say a Fauji gets a red carpet and an easy transfer into the corporate world.
Okay.
Unlike the students of today who post their education, get into a corporate world, struggle for maybe 6 months, 8 months, a year, prove themselves, find a foothold, and then make a career for themselves.
Yeah.
We have to do that twice.
Oh, okay.
So we did that once in the army. As Senthil said, the army is a great leveler. So the academy is a great leveler. You know, we have people from all facets of life coming and clearing once we clear the SSB, a person is broken down. Okay, sir. A cadet is broken down physically, spiritually, mentally, in all realms, across all realms, he's broken down. When everyone comes onto one platform, from there the training starts. So that is where the muscle memory kicks in. You know, after a training, you know, from that level, when we get trained for a year or so, you know, we can be woken up in the middle of the night and we rattle out everything. We do well in the army, but once we come to the corporate world, we are freshers in the corporate world. And we do have a disadvantage wherein a student is joining at say about 21, 22, we are joining the same corporate world at maybe the same level or maybe a level or two higher at the age of 27, 28. So we have a lot more at stake here. We have a reputation to live up to as well. The pressure to perform and succeed is higher on us. So for the initial 6 to 8 months in the corporate world, it is a struggle for us as well. But yes, the ones who do well, do fantastically well, and I am very happy to say that many of my colleagues are doing fantastically well in the industry.
True. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It's a different perspective altogether.
Thank you.
Thanks, Captain Ravikant.
Okay. But still, what do I feel when you are taking up your corporate career? Probably you are able to perform with much more ease. That is what I look at it. Basically, because whatever you have learned in the army, you are able to replicate the same thing. Okay. Say for example, personal discipline. Am I right? I mean, you are so trained. You are so trained on that, because I have seen my dad who was in the Navy. Okay, I know how does he respond to each and every letter, Indian letter, the way he used to respond. So we learned a lot from him. So having gone through such a grilling moment in the army, with much more ease, you are able to start performing well in the corporate world. That is how we are looking at it.
Yes, Professor Narayan.
Yes.
I would say I have joined this organization about 4.5 years ago. And when my day starts at 9 o'clock, I don't remember on a single occasion where I have stepped into the office post 8:55 a.m. So it's all 9 a.m. is always 8:55. It's never 9:01.
Exactly.
That's the kind of discipline you need to instill yourself to be successful. That is what differentiates a great successful person and a person who's just floating around in the system.
Exactly. We do have great respect for all the Fauji's.
Yes, sir, so do we, sir.
Okay. Shiraman, if you have no other question, probably we can wrap it up. It's almost 1 o'clock.
Yes, sir. We'll wrap it up.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, can I ask question?
Yeah, Subhash, most welcome.
Sir, myself, Subhash. I had one question, sir. What are the legal problems faced by the detective agency? If they violated the law, they will punish or not, sir?
Oh, yes, Subhash. There have been cases where people have violated laws and they've been put behind bars in worse situations. But at the same time, there is legal backup that we have in risk management companies. And that is why when somebody asked me as to what is the selection that we do, I think Karthik asked me, that is why you need to choose a company that you join, which is got a reputation, which has got a legal backup, a heritage. And these are the companies which will protect you. So we've got numerous cases when we do brand protection, where the local goon or somebody gets involved and the police comes up, roughs it up and picks up. So obviously there are different levels of people that get involved in these kind of situations. But yes, to answer to your question, there are issues. We solve it. There is a legal team that helps us. And laws are same for everybody. So there is no discount for risk management professionals. So if there is some law that we don't abide by, action is taken accordingly.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Indeed, it was a wonderful session. Now let me call upon Hemchand, our first MBA student, to formally propose the vote of thanks. Hemchand.
Sir. Good afternoon to one and all present here. It is a great honor to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by thanking the Almighty for blessing us abundantly and making today's occasion a resounding success. First and foremost, I thank our Chief Guest, Mr. Shantanu Krishna, Director of Pinkerton, for spending his valuable time on today's session on risk management. We are extremely grateful to our Director, Dr. A.G.B. Narayan, for his words of encouragement. I also extend my heartfelt thanks to Captain Sendil and faculty for their valuable contribution and guidance in all our efforts. Last but not the least, I thank my seniors, friends, and participants from the institutions for your cooperation in making this program a sounding success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Shantanu. Have a great weekend. Thank you.